You're listening to Excellence Above Talent, a podcast where we have the hard conversations about the lives of men and what leads us to achieve greatness and suffer defeat. Hear from other men's journeys as well, as we all learn and grow together to become inspirations to ourselves and those around us. And now your host, Aaron Thomas.
What's up, my beautiful people? Aaron Thomas with Excellence Above Talent. Whoo! I'll tell you this. The last couple of weeks have been a learning process. I don't like the word struggle because struggle is a part of life. And so when people say struggle, it's, heartache and pain and, things are hard. And it's just going to happen. It's just a way of life. So the past couple of weeks has been difficult because of the mindset that I put myself in. I cannot blame a certain circumstance or people or money or where I'm at in my life. It was solely because I took the positive that I was looking at and I turned to the negative and I saw an overwhelming hill that it was impossible to climb. And you put yourself in like these negative states and you're trying to, figure out how and what are you going to do. And sometimes you take matters into your own hands and you force things and you push things that shouldn't be forced. And then you find yourself overwhelmed, frustrated, depressed, angry because the life you feel like you should be living, you're not living. And all of this happened because I turned the positive and all the good things happening in my life. I turned it inwards and started looking at all the negative things that happened in my life. And it just kind of sends you down this spiral. So I have been dealing with the issue of abandonment. Last week's podcast, I was talking about how it's hard to ask for help. But in this process, and I think it's a beautiful process that we all get to do, and that is living out our life while trying to figure out why we do the things that we do. Try to figure out the traumas that has happened in our lives from an early age and that has followed us through adulthood. We get to find out how we can overcome those traumas, how we can learn and grow from those traumatic events. And my traumatic event that I feel like I haven't really learned from until these last few weeks was abandonment. When I was in the 5th or 6th grade, I remember my dad walking me and my little brother to school in Crane, Texas. And he was telling us how him and my mom were probably going to get a divorce, and how his dad left him and his dad left him. And it was just kind of a way of life. And he would still be there. He would still love us. Not a whole lot would change. And so as a kid, you have hope that a whole lot won't change, right? But I also put a lot of my mom and dad getting divorced on me. I was the oldest boy, and I had to protect my mom, but I love my dad. And I remember one day, my mom had put out all of my dad's clothes on the porch, and my dad came home, and they, had words. And there was something that was said that I don't know, it was within me in my little, 5th or 6th grade ears. But I just felt like it was my fault. Like I was torn between my mom and my dad. And I chose my mom, and I felt like I let my dad down. And so there was that, right? Not really understanding what that was, trying to process that. And then when my dad left, there wasn't a whole lot of communication. And again, I assumed it was me. And that was like my first real bout with abandonment, not feeling love, not feeling worthy, not feeling enough. And coincidentally, that was when I was also introduced to pornography around that same time. And the feeling of masturbating and running away from that feeling of abandonment created something to where, like, that's what I ran to. That was like my go-to. Anytime I felt stress, anxiety, worry, that was my vice. At a very early age, that's what I ran to. And as an adult, it's something that I've ran to up until a point, right? And to this point where I'm questioning why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. Why do I feel like I need to have sex? Why do I feel the need to watch porn? Why do I feel the need to masturbate? Because it's not when things are going good. It's when there's pressure and I want to alleviate that pressure or run from that pressure or not feel that pressure is when those urges come to me the most. And I think I picked that up from an early age. That was my vice at an early age when I was struggling to cope with what was going on with my parents. And then on top of that, it was Christmas time in Crane, Texas. And we were poor. And I knew we were poor, but my mom made do with what she had. And I went to class during like the Christmas week, and there were a bunch of gifts in front of the room. And no one, told me like, hey, we were buying gifts for everybody. No one told me about like a white elephant or nothing. And so I was kind of like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, like I don't have a gift for anyone. But it turned out that all the kids in my class, my 5th grade classroom, bought me gifts. I guess, poor black family, take care of the black man, make myself feel good or whatever. And I wasn't embarrassed because I didn't know, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I appreciate that. But when I went home and I told my mom, there was some anger. I could see hurt. And I realized like, oh, that they were feeling sorry for me. They were, trying to help. But no one asked, hey, are you struggling or do you need help? They just made that assumption and they, bought me a bunch of gifts, which I played with, every single one of them. I played with all those gifts. But I saw the hurt and pain in my mom's eye. And then I realized like, oh, they were feeling sorry for me. And I also didn't like that feeling as well because I didn't ask for it. And they took it upon themselves to do it, which, hindsight is 2020. Like it's a nice gesture. I'm not saying it shouldn't have been done. It was a nice gesture, but, we were okay. I don't think I got gifts that Christmas from the fam because I think we were kind of struggling. But, I mean, we had each other, and so that was totally fine. But I also had those gifts that I also played with as well. But it was just, these things happen like back to back to back to back. And then I guess masked it. I didn't want no one to think that I was, broke or poor or struggling. And so I acted like, I had money and everything was okay when it wasn't. So I learned how to mask how I felt at an early age from feeling abandoned or being abandoned from my dad and running to pornography to ease whatever pain I was going through, acting like everything was okay and that I wasn't in need of anything to my peers because I didn't want to have that feeling of them needing to do something for me. I didn't want the help. It created something inside to where asking for help now is something that it's hard for me to do. And I correlate that with feeling abandoned. Because if I ask for help and you don't help me, that has the same feeling of abandonment to me. Like I'm abandoned all over again. So it's easier for me not to ask for help and to try to do it all by myself. And if I'm struggling, to mask it all in order to protect whatever ego and pride I think I have. And so this whole past 2 to 3 weeks, there was a struggle of resetting. I needed to reset my life in order to move forward. But I haven't dealt with the abandonment issues from my father from getting a divorce. And feeling that abandonment all over again. Once I got my divorce, I moved out. And once Erica was like, I don't want to be with you no more, I moved out. Like, I didn't stay in the house. I moved out, and I never stopped going. I might have picked up a few things. I'm on a few boards. I think I got on another board or 2 more boards after separating. So there was, picked up my volunteerism in the community. Like I did more because I didn't want to feel that pain, that pressure, that anxiety. So I did more. I never took my time to process that feeling of abandonment, the abandonment of being married and thinking it was forever, but it not being forever. And the crazy part was I did everything in that marriage to be abandoned because I came into it with the assumption I wasn't worthy enough to love, so why would she stay? And I manifest everything that happened in that marriage in a negative way. So people assume that manifestation doesn't happen. You can manifest things in a positive way, or you can manifest things in a negative way. And my way of thinking while married was, she's going to leave me. She doesn't love me. Why would she love me? How could she love me? And so I did everything in my power to make sure that what I was saying in my head was going to come true in real life. And the crazy part was I was fighting it the whole time. I was fighting it because I knew I deserved and she deserved better, but I wasn't at that place to understand and know why I was in a place of wanting to not be abandoned, but doing everything to be abandoned. And I'll tell you this, everyone in my life that I love, I have already lost. And it might have come from, going to Iraq and seeing how quickly someone could die. You go out on a mission, the next day they're picking up your body pieces, and you're like, well, what is this, right? And so I've had funerals in my mind with all of my family that I love, dying, and I've processed and cried and felt that pain because that helps me. Or I thought it helped me when dealing with abandonment issues. So I don't get attached to people as much as I should because they're going to die or they're already dead. And so why create that issue within myself? Why feel abandoned, knowing that I'm going to be abandoned by everybody? And it could be through dying. It could be through a breakup. It could be through a falling out. So in my head, I'm like, don't get close to anybody. Don't ask help from anybody. Try to do this on your own. And if you're struggling and going through, try to mask it. Try to be like everything's okay when it's not. And so now I'm in the process of having that conversation of abandonment. Yes, my dad left. It's not on me. That was a choice that he made. Yes, Erica divorced me. Some of that's on me, for sure. But at the end of the day, that was a choice that she made. She could have stayed and fought in that marriage if she wanted to, but she felt the need not to. And that's totally fine, because that's the life that she has to live. And so I get that and I understand that now. Back then, I was, in my head, I was thinking like, what the hell? Because I see dudes who aren't in the process of trying to figure it out. They're not even freaking trying. And I see women holding on to these dudes, like believing and trusting. And so I felt some type of way when she wanted a divorce. But then again, I manifested all. I knew she was going to leave because I had already thought about it multiple times. I pushed her away through my actions. And then once it happened, then I'm sad. And so now I'm coming to that conclusion that the actions and the thoughts that I had, she had nothing to do with. That was on me. So I can't get upset or angry or hurt or pissed off because I'm a big believer in everything is my fault. And so I go and I try to figure out what I can do better. And that was one of the things. I let my fear of abandonment create a space where love and kindness and joy couldn't sit in my relationship too long because that shit got weird. Something bad's finna happen. It can't be this good. And because it couldn't be that good, I created unnecessary drama to make sure it wasn't that good. So I self-sabotaged myself in my relationship. Hell, in all of my relationships. And I'm now realizing that, and I'm pulling myself back, and I'm processing ways to be better and do better as a person and as a man, so that in the next relationship, I'm not doing the same crap I did before. I know I need help because no one can do it by themselves. And I appreciate the support that I got when I asked for prayers on Facebook. Some people prayed because they really wanted to pray for me. Some people would just want to be nosy. Hey, what's going on? But at the end of the day, I got overwhelming amount of support and calls and texts and messages just to let me know that, hey, I'm not in this alone and that there are people out there that really do care about you or about me. And so I've taken the last couple of weeks to really go within and try to work on myself when it comes to asking for help and the fear of abandonment and looking on the inside and trying to find out a negative. You know, those are the things that kind of put me in this space of, fuck it. Like, why continue to do what I'm doing? What's the point? There is no point. But now I'm resetting, reshifting, slowing down, allowing myself to process things, getting myself out of some of these not nonprofits, but getting myself out of some of these off of these boards, taking more time, for myself to try to figure out what my next move is. Because I'm a big believer in you can always change your story. And I feel like my story needed to be changed, but I was holding on to this thought of, if I just keep going, something will eventually happen. And it wore me down. I kept going, hoping that something eventually would pop, and nothing popped. And eventually it just wore me down. So now I'm going still, but I'm not going at the rate that I was. I am taking my time, embracing life, allowing life to come to me, and just kind of seeing where life leads versus me trying to force something that I may or may not like. So I'm not sure who needed to hear this. Maybe someone is going through this feeling that I felt the past couple of weeks of abandonment, of not feeling love, not feeling like they're not enough, not feeling worthy of where they're at in their life. I want you to know that you are loved, that you are worthy, that you are enough, and you have to go within and talk to somebody, a counselor, a friend, your pastor, about what's going on with you so you can get some of this stuff out of you to move forward. So, if anyone hasn't told you today that they love you, let me be the first to say I love you. You're awesome. You're amazing. You deserve the best that this world has to offer. Do not give up. Do not quit. The world does not get easier, but you get stronger. Y'all have a blessed weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And for daily motivational and up-to-date content, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Excellence Above Talent. And remember, keep moving forward, never give up, and you are never alone in this battle. We'll see you next time.